welcome to the latest episode of Sean's Movie Crusades. My name is Sean Wasserkrug, and I'm here to review all the latest films in theaters and streaming, as well as anything that you guys recommend, whether it be recent films or old school movies. Now, before we get into today's episode, don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel, so that way you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up. And also don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Now, today's review is going to be Alita Battle Angel. And this movie, I was kind of hesitant going into this, mainly because this movie has been pushed back quite a few times. It's been talked about for a while, and then it didn't seem like it was ever going to come out. And then they finally came out, and the first trailer was just kind of meh, and that was the general response from everybody, not just myself. Just more or less that the main character had big eyes, and it just looked really weird. While it looked nice, it just looked real weird. It just wasn't something that you think you could get ahead of it. Then the early reviews rolled out about a week or two ago, and a lot of it was just like, it looks great, but the story's not good. But so it's just kind of, there's not, like, it's still a big movie, but it's definitely not getting the excitement or the buzz that it needs to get for it to be considered a huge film being released on a Valentine's Day. But with James Cameron doing the screenplay and producing, who's obviously a huge influence in the movie industry, as he gave us the Terminator franchise, or at least the first two Terminators, obviously Titanic, and of course the Avatar. He's making all the others right now. And then they also got Robert Rodriguez to direct, who he's made two of my favorite movies, being Sin City and Desperado. I held out some hope that this movie was actually going to be good overall, but I was going in kind of lukewarm with it. I didn't want it to suck, but I wasn't expecting it to be great either. Now, we'll see what I thought about that. The general plot, without getting super long-winded about it, Alita Battle Angel is based on a manga, which is basically a comic or a graphic novel that was created in Japan. You could call it an anime, but they call it manga. But that's basically what so it is a comic book series that you can actually read about and learn and stuff like that. And basically it is in the 2700s or 2600s. I want to say it's the 2700s. And it's there's been this huge battle 300 years prior. They call it the Fall. And so we're kind of in a dystopian apocalyptic world kind of thing, where people who live on the ground level, it's called Iron something, and it's like hell, and then like there's like a flying city above, that's basically considered like heaven, and so everyone down below is just like trash people and stuff like that, even though they're really not. But basically there's this doctor who goes by Dyson Ido, who's played by the phenomenal Christoph Waltz. And he's kind of scrummaging around the dump, trying to find robot parts, so he can, because he's a doctor who repairs cyborgs or robots in general. Because apparently everyone in this time frame is an amputee with a robotic arm or a leg. Like 4 people having it, okay, but literally like 95% of the population has something robotic on them, and it's usually an arm. So that was a little weird. But anyway, he's rummaging through the dump, and he finds the upper torso of a cyborg, and he finds out that the cyborg is still alive, that it still has a brain function and heart function. And so he basically takes this, upper body home and gives it a body and brings it to life. And that's where we get Alita. And then there's more story to it, and I don't want to go too far into it because, like I said, it's a big story, but that's the general initial plot to the actual story, kind of like a futuristic Pinocchio in a sense, except that he doesn't wish that the robot becomes alive; he just makes it come alive. But yeah, that's Alita Battle Angel in a nutshell, without going too far into it. Now, what actually works with Alita Battle Angel is, of course, the starring role of Alita, played by Rosa Salazar. Some people might know her from Bird Box, or Chips, And then she popped up on a lot of TV shows here and there. She's not a huge, big actress by any means, so this is kind of her breakout role, even though she isn't a mocap the entire time. She does a phenomenal job as Alita. While it does take you a little bit to get used to the uncanny valley of Alita, because she's got, like I said, the big doe eyes, and you can tell she's not real in a world where everyone is real except for people who have, who look robotic. Does it take like 5 to 10 minutes to get kind of your eyes accustomed to seeing her to the point where she feels normal on screen? Yes. But once you do get to that point, Rosa does, like I said, a phenomenal job being Alita. She brings a warmth and humanity to the character, and through her performance that makes you feel like Alita is a living human with cyborg abilities. And as you watch her story progress throughout the film, you are falling in love with this Alita character. She is definitely the highlight of the film, and she is the reason why you keep going, which she should. She's the main title character. But Rosa does a fantastic job bringing Alita to life and getting you as the fan or the viewer to follow and love the character overall. And it's one of the best mocap performances outside of Andy Serkis, who... Anyone who knows me knows that I think that Andy Serkis is one of the best underrated actors of our time, and him not having an Oscar for Smeagol or Caesar or any of his other performances is one of the worst things ever. But she does probably one of the best performances in mocap outside of him, and she's a delight to watch. Whether she's being a badass or having emotional scenes with Christoph Waltz or emotional scenes in general, she captivates you throughout her entire performance. And there's never once in the movie where I'm just like, ugh, God, she could have done that better. Because anytime her performance or Alita's performance comes off weak, you address it towards more for her being a cyborg. But that rarely ever happens because Rosa gives Alita such humanity to the cyborg character overall. And then, of course, you have Christoph Waltz, who's easily one of my favorite actors today. I mean, he has one of my favorite roles of all time from Inglourious Bastards. And he's easily one of the best supporting actors in the game, because no matter what movie it is, he brings his A-game 100% of the time. And he does his usual great job as Dr. Dyson Ido. And while his character is mostly in the film for exposition, because there's a lot of exposition in this movie, he still delivers a great performance overall. And and we expect that from him. Anytime he's in a film, we expect a fantastic performance, and Waltz does that in this film. And his father-daughter chemistry between him and Alita also works very well. So when he's not doing exposition to kind of catch everyone up to what the story is, and he actually just has those actual genuine moments with Alita, they are some of the best in the film overall. Keenan Johnson does a fine job in the film, also as Hugo. And his character is interesting enough to the point to keep you interested in him throughout, because he does have this it's mysterious to Alita, but it's not mysterious to us because we know what his character is doing. But he has that element that keeps us caring about his character throughout the film. It's just he probably would have worked a whole lot better as a human friend to Alita instead of a potential love interest, which I'll get more into. But yeah, Keenan Johnson does a decent job as well. And also the villains in the movie are pretty good also. You have the main villain, which doesn't get revealed to the end of the movie, and it's a surprise cameo, who the future villain of the franchise will be, which is a nice, like awesome. I'm glad he's going to potentially be in these films. And then you have the actual villains of the movie himself, the villain cyborgs, which the two main ones would be Zypan, played by Ed Skrein. People might most know him for Deadpool. He was Francis. And then Griwishka, probably butchering the hell out of that. But he's voiced by Jackie Earle Haley. And Jackie Earle Haley, also one of the best probably voice actors, or just face-covered actors out there today. But they all do a fantastic job in their villain roles, even though I do wish that their end game to their characters were a little bit more deeper and better overall. They build those characters up pretty good throughout the movie, but their final scenes left a lot to be desired overall. The movie itself is gorgeous. It is stunning. The action scenes are beautifully shot and clear, because there's a lot of dark in this movie, and there's a lot of fast motion movements going on, but you can visually see everything that's going on. And if you guys have the ability to see this, see it in IMAX 3D, or 3D in general. I personally didn't have that option, so I had to watch it in 2D, but as I was watching it, all I kept thinking of is, man, this would have looked amazing in IMAX or 3D. There are certain scenes that you know are meant for 3D that probably would have looked amazing. So if you guys have the ability to watch it in IMAX 3D or just 3D, I strongly recommend that. I'm not a big fan of 3D myself, but I am a big fan of IMAX. So if you guys have the ability to watch it that way, I 100% recommend it. Or 4DX, which I personally have never been able to watch anything in 4DX. But yeah, if you guys have the ability to watch them in that, definitely do it, because this movie deserves it. Because like I said, it is shot beautifully throughout, and it's a sight to be seen. The visuals are amazing. No matter what you have against the film overall, it is just a gorgeous movie from beginning to end. Even in its dystopian, apocalyptic world, it is a sight to be seen, and I strongly recommend seeing it in those formats. And it is definitely a movie that when it comes out on disc, it is definitely a 4K purchase, 100%. I also like the overall story elements of it, like how the universe works and the world they live in. It's very grabbing, it's very interesting about the world. I just wish they would have delved deeper into it instead of certain choices that they decided to make the focal point of the film. You could tell there's and people who are fans of the manga, they know the world, but I have no idea on the source material. I don't read any of that stuff, so I don't have any of that in my brain. But watching the movie, I could tell that there's this deep story, and there's tons of story to be told. We just didn't get that much in the movie, and I just wish we could have gotten that. But I could tell there's a fantastic story to be told. We just didn't get that in this film. But yeah, that's what worked. What does not work in the movie is the general script of it overall. The main problem, and this has been a problem with a lot of films as of late, is that this is the first film, but you can clearly tell that they are building this up for multiple other films. So this felt obvious, like this felt mostly like a prequel to the story that they actually wanted to tell. And while for people who are fans of the manga, that might be totally okay, but for people who like myself and a lot of people who are going to be seeing this who are not fans of the manga, who have never heard of the manga, it's just a lot of questions being left open and unanswered, and not enough to explain to us what's going on and how it's going to happen. So when the movie finally ends, it's just like, okay, cool. Now I want to see this. Now I want to see what's left, but we may not even get a sequel of this. A lot of it depends on how well the movie does overall, and judging by the reviews so far, it doesn't, and the lukewarm reception, this might never get a sequel or sequels. So we're basically left with a movie that by the end of the film intrigues us to see more, but we may never get that. And if we do, it could be 2, 3, 4 years down the road, because James Cameron's busy with the Avatar movies. He might not have time to come back to Alita anytime soon. So I feel like the movie best would have served itself as like a 10-part miniseries done on like HBO or Netflix or whatever. Because the main problem with this movie is because it throws so much at you, but it's very episodic. Every 10-15 minutes, it just feels like it's an episode ending and a new episode beginning. Like, episode 1 is Ido finding Alita's body in the dump, and then him building her and bringing her to life. Episode 2 would have been this part. Episode 3, this part. And for anyone who sees the movie, knows exactly what I'm talking about, because there are certain beats of the film where the tone or the subplots drastically change, and then those previous subplots are just dropped like an episode to a TV show. And that's where I feel like this movie really would have done a whole lot better, and probably would have gotten a better grouping and a better following if this was just a prequel series to the eventual films that we would have gotten, instead of just one movie that piles so much stuff in And plus, with that, they could have made the world bigger. They could have explained more for the story and certain characters and the overall world that they're a part of. Because there's just not enough time to do that in a 2-hour film. Whereas like 10 1-hour episodes would have been perfect for this show, or for this film overall. Because of that, also, like I said, because there's just so much they're throwing at you, pretty much everyone outside of Hugo, Alita, and Ido get incredibly shortchanged. Mahershala Ali, who's one of the best actors today, is considered the villain in this movie, but he's not. He's not. I mean, he is, but he's not the main villain. He's kind of just like the number 2 in this film, because we don't get to see the main villain until literally the last scene of the film. But he's criminally wasted. His scenes are there. I mean, there's no backstory to his character. He's just this guy, and you just have to accept that he's in charge of certain people and just go with it. There's just no build up to his character whatsoever. And for an actor of that caliber, you're wasting him by not giving him more. Now, could there have been a ton of scenes with him and this other person that I'm about to talk about that ended up being on the cutting room floor? Sure. But those are things that they probably should have left in the final editing of the film. The other one that gets shortchanged is Jennifer Connelly, who plays Shirin, and Mahershala Ali plays Vector. Both these people are criminally underused. They're way too good of performers to be used this short. And just when Jennifer Connelly started to get a character arc, her part in the movie ends. And so it's just like, you just started to make me actually give a crap about this character, and then we're just done with that character. And that's kind of the big bummer. And like I said, outside of Hugo, Ido, and Alita, it's like that for all the characters. All of them just kind of get shortchanged immensely throughout this entire film, because basically if you're not those 3 main characters, you don't matter. And they are important characters, and we just don't get any time to really dig deep into those characters. Now, we do get some background on Jennifer Connelly's Shirin character, because Ido gives exposition explaining her, but we don't get to see her perform that character at all. She's just kind of there. And Mahershala Ali's kind of the same way. They both just kind of stand there, look menacing, and aren't really given much to perform. Also, and this has been the general problem with probably everything that because after I saw the movie, I was like, all right, let me see what people are actually talking about. And I agree, and this is the general thought of everyone. The love story in this is very meh overall. It feels forced. It's not that it's performed badly. It's just it doesn't work, and they make it the main focal point of the film. And it does not belong as the main focal point of the film. It has no business being in the film at all, and I'll get to that in a little bit. It's just, this is the storyline that for some reason they decided to force down your throat, and it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel generally at all interesting in the entire movie at all. You want to learn about everything else but this love story. And so every time this love story takes focus, you're just kind of... That's what it feels like every time they force this love story on us. Like, I get it. It's what propels Alita further in the story, but it just doesn't work. And the reason why it doesn't work, and it's the same reason. And like, I personally, and yes, this is gonna go vulgar, and I apologize, but it literally doesn't sell it without it being vulgar. I personally cannot stand people who talk towards the screen when they're watching a movie. I mean, laugh when it's funny, scream, jump when it's scary, but don't do commentary during the film. You're not Mystery Science Theater, so keep your thoughts to yourself. But there's this one guy in the theater who was killing me the entire time, because every single time Alita and Hugo were doing anything romantic, whether it's just googly eyes or kissing or what have you, this dude kept going, "She's a robot. He's a human. This don't make no sense." 5 minutes later, "She's a robot. He's a human. This don't make no sense. But she's a robot though. She's a robot though." And finally his girlfriend goes, "Why does that matter?" And this actually caused the entire theater to erupt in laughter. He goes, "She ain't got no pussy. They ain't gonna fuck. Because she's a robot." And while I would like to get mad, I was like, he's got a point. and that's why this love story doesn't work. And even in the movie, they even address it, and they don't give you an answer for how they work around it. It's just kind of, oh, well. And it's just like, that right there tells you how the story doesn't work. You're having a human fall in love with a robot, and it's literally cannot go anything past kissing, which for everyone who watches movies with romantic elements, you know the sex element's got to be in your head, or it's got to further the plot, and that's never going to happen with these characters. And that guy just couldn't keep his mouth shut, but it made it funny. But that's why the love story doesn't work. That, and there's some corny lines, and it's not the performance's fault. Everyone in the movie does a good job performing the film overall. It's just the script is not written well enough for this love story to be believable. You can see they care for each other, but it's just like I don't care. I care about the two characters outside of the relationship, yes. I don't care about them being together. And I don't want to watch these two together. That's why I said Hugo's character would have been perfectly fine if he was a friend of Alita and not a relationship, because it just did not feel natural. It didn't flow properly. And that was the driving force of the movie, and that's what made the movie not work overall as a whole. So overall, with Alita Battle Angel, like I said, I came at it with a lot of negatives, but all the negatives aside, damn it if I did not enjoy the movie overall. I had fun watching it. It's like I said, I was never bored. Maybe during some of the love romantic stuff I was a little bored, but I was enthralled with the story of the world that I was watching. The action is fantastic. The visuals are amazing. I enjoyed the movie overall, and it makes me want to see more from this film, or from this series. I hope it does well enough to get sequels. I want to see where this story is going to go. Is this the great jumping off point for this series? No, it's not. It's probably the worst way they could have started this thing off. Like I said, it would have been better if they just would have done a TV series for it. But it was still an enjoyable experience overall, and I still would recommend it. As long as you guys know what you're getting yourselves into. You know, if you know what you're looking into, you can kind of simmer your expectations down, like I did going into it. And I ended up enjoying the movie quite a bit because of that, because I was not expecting it to be up here. I was expecting it to be right around here, and because of that, I was right here with it. So I actually enjoyed Alita Battle Angel quite a bit. So yeah, if you guys want to see an entertaining, gorgeous visual sci-fi cyborg film, I strongly recommend Alita Battle Angel. If you're fans of the manga, like I said, I have no idea how well this is with the source material. So whether or not you guys would like that, I'm sure you guys would probably enjoy it overall. If none of that stuff is your bag, I'm sure there are other things out right now, such as like Happy Death Day to You, or even though I haven't seen it, Isn't It Romantic? Or next week we got How to Train Your Dragon 3. There are other things out there, but I personally actually quite enjoyed this movie. I'll probably see it again at some point. I definitely will see it again. Whether or not in theaters is another story. If there was an IMAX around me, I would 100% go see it. But there isn't. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I enjoyed it overall. It's by no means a perfect film. There are lots of things wrong with it, but I liked it overall, and I think you guys, for the most part, will like it as well. But that's my review overall. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys did, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys feel like this review is worth sharing, go ahead and hit that share button as well. But most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, so that way you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the channel. And also, don't forget to follow us at all the social media outlets you see below. And until next time, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.